Hello, I am M.K. Srinivas. Hello everyone. I am going through this Contract Act 1872, Agency Sections 182 to 238, wherein I had discussed in my last video, just a recap, wherein I said relations of principal and agents with the third parties is dealt under sections 226 to 238, and enforcement and consequences of agents contract section 226, principal how for bound when agent exceeds authority section 227, principal not bound when excess of agent's authority is not separable, that is section 228, and the consequences of notice given to agent, that is 229, was dealt in depth. Now I have to deal the other study other sections, that is 230 to 238, wherein the first one is the agent cannot personally enforce nor be bound by contract on behalf of the principal, that is 230, rights and parties to a contract made by the agent. Like that I have to deal with other subjects. In the last video I had said that enforcement and consequences of agents, section 200 lays down that the contracts entered into an agent and obligations arising from the acts done by agent may be enforced in the same manners and will have the same legal consequences as the contracts had been entered into and the acts done by the principal in person. So there were two illustrations given and we had discussed. Now I had come to the other slide, that is to section 227, wherein principal how far bound when agent exceeds authority. Section 227 lays down that when the agent does more than he is authorized to do, and when the part of what he does which is within his authority can be separated from the agent. So this is one part we dealt in the last video. The other one is 228, principal not bound excess authority is not separable. Section 228 lays down that where an agent does more than he is authorized and when he does beyond the scope of his authority cannot be separated from what within it, and the principal is not bound. So also I went through some of the examples and the section 229 says consequences of notice given to agent, that is 229, that any notice given to or information obtained through the agent provided it to be given or obtained in the same course of business transacted by him for the him means here agent, principal shall as between the principal and the third parties have the same legal consequences as if it had been given and obtained by the principal. There were two illustrations discussed in the last chapter. Now I am going through the other sections, that is starting with section number 230 in depth. Agent cannot personally enforce nor bound by the contract on behalf of the principal. Here agent cannot personally enforce nor be bound by contracts on behalf of the principal. Section 230 lays down that in the absence of any contract to the effect, an agent cannot personally enforce contracts entered into by him on behalf of his principal, nor he is personally bound by them. So this is the Bare Act in section 230, and we have some other illustrations like this. Presumption of contract to contrary. Such a contract shall be presumed to exist in the following cases: where the contract is made by an agent for the sale or purchase of goods for a merchant resident abroad, where agent does not disclose the name of his principal, where the principal though disclosed cannot be sued. So in these circumstances this section 230 come into existence, and it is applicable also there, wherein it is clearly said that where the contract is made by an agent for the sale or purchase of goods for a merchant resident abroad. So here in these circumstances this agent cannot personally enforce nor bound by contracts on behalf of the principal. Section 230 applies. And then where agent does not disclose the name of his principal, so here undisclosed principal, then also this section 230 lays down that in the absence of which principal has to be bound, then rights of parties to a contract made by the agent not disclosed, that is section 231. What it says? It says that rights of the parties to a contract made by the agent not disclosed. Section 231 provides that if an agent makes a contract with a person who neither knows nor has reason to suspect that he is an agent, his principal may require the performance of the contract, but the other contracting party has against the principal the same rights as would have been had as the against of the agent if the agent had been the principal, if the principal discloses himself before the contract is completed, the other contracting party may refuse to fulfill the contract if he can show that if he had known who was the principal in the contract, or if he had known that the agent was not a principal, he would have not have entered into the contract. So this is the main gist of the section 231. It sometimes happens that some of the say take for example, two people go every day to a film where they make some galata. Afterwards the owner of the theater, he throws them out and says he will not entertain hereafter, but they send an agent. That agent purchases the ticket, but and they are enter into the theater. Then this problem arises that rights of the principal contract agent is not known. Such circumstances this would apply. Then let us come to the section 232. There, performance of the contract with the agent supposed to be principal. Section 232. So in this section, in depth, if you want to study this again a point where performance contract with the agent is supposed to be principal. That is, see what the act says. Performance of contract with the agent supposed to be principal. Section 232 lays down that where one man makes a contract with another, neither knowing nor having reasonable ground to suspect that the other is an agent, the principal, if he required the performance of the contract, can only obtain such performance subject to the rights and obligations of the subsisting between the agent and the other party to the contract. For illustration, A, who owes 500 rupees to B, sells 1000 rupees worth of rice to B. A is acting as an agent for C in the transaction, but B has no knowledge for the reasonable ground of suspicion that such is the case. C cannot compel B to take the rice without allowing him to sell off A's debt. So A's debt has to be cleared in this case, and it's a very good example of section 232 lays down that where one man makes a contract with another, neither knowing nor having a reasonable ground to suspect that the other is an agent, the principal, if he required the performance of the contract, can only obtain such performance subject to the rights and obligations subsisting between the agent and the other party to the contract. So in this illustration, this point is very well established and explained. See here, A who owes 500 rupees to B sells 1000 rupees worth of rice to B. A is acting as agent for C in the transaction. Now let us come to the next section, that is 233. It says right of person dealing with agent personally liable. Section 233. Let us see in depth what exactly this section is lays down. Right of person dealing with the agent personally liable. Section 233 lays down that in the cases where the agent is personally liable, a person dealing with him may hold either him or his principal or both of them liable. So in this case, it is the choice of the third party to hold either principal or agent or both of them liable in case of any breach or any non-performance of the acts. Then there is one illustration. A enters into a contract with B to sell him 100 bales of cotton, and afterwards discovers that B was acting as an agent for C. A may sue either B or C or both for the price of the cotton. So this is one of the illustrations very beautifully explained for this right of person dealing with the agent personally liable, section 233. Now we will come to section 234, that is consequence of inducing agent or principal to act belief that the principal or the agent will be held exclusively liable. Section 234. What it lays down? Section 234 lays down that when a person who has made a contract with an agent induces the agent to act upon the belief that the principal only will be held liable, or induces the principal to act upon the belief that the agent only will be liable, he cannot afterwards hold the liability, the agent or principal respectively. So he cannot hold agent or principal as liable for any breach of a contract or any if he sues for his recoveries. So this is section 234, very easy to remember, 2, 3, 4 in continuous. This section, again for the sake of repetition, lays down that when a person who has made a contract with an agent induces the agent to act, so like that we have to remember this act. Now next act is liability pretended agent, that is section 235. Some agent, they pretend as agents, sometimes they got terminated from the companies, later on they again behave as agents. Then what is the liability of a pretended agent? Section 235 states that a person untruly representing himself to be the authorized agent of another and thereby inducing a third person to deal with him as such agent is liable if his alleged employer does not ratify his acts to make a compensation to the other in respect of any loss or damage which he has incurred by so dealing. So third party should not be put to loss, and agent should not bring a loss to the third parties, and he is personally liable. Then a person falsely contracting as agent not entitled to performance, that is section 236. What it says? Person falsely contracting as agent not entitled to performance. Section 236 narrates that a person to whom a contract has been entered into in the character of agent is not entitled to require the performance of it if he was in reality acting not as agent but on his own account. So here section 236 says enshrined to tell about the persons falsely contracting as agent and is not entitled to performance. Principal is not entitled to performance. Next we'll come to two sections, that is liability of principal inducing belief, that is section 237, and effect on agreement fraud by agent 238. Liability of the principal inducing belief that the agent's unauthorized acts were authorized. Then section 237 lays down that when an agent has without authority done acts or incurred obligations to third persons on behalf of his principal, the principal is bound by such acts or obligations if he has by his words or conduct induced such third persons to believe that such acts or obligations were within the scope of the agent's authority. So if he believes that it is in the scope of the agent's authority, the liability of principal inducing belief is very important, where he induces that he is agent of him. Then for the loss of third persons he becomes liable, that is once again for the cost of reputation. Section 237 lays down that when an agent has without authority done acts incurred obligations to third persons on behalf of his principal, the principal is bound by such acts or obligations if he has by his words or conduct induced such third persons to believe that obligations were within the scope of the agent's authority. Then illustrations: A consigns goods to B for sale and gives him instruction not to sell under a fixed price. C, being ignorant of the B's instructions, enter into contract with B to buy the goods at the price lower than the reserved price. A is bound by the contract. So here A consigns goods to B. That is again principal is telling the B for sale and gives him instruction not to sell under the fixed price. C, being ignorant of B's instructions, enter into contract with B to buy the goods at a price lower than the reserved price. Then A is responsible. That is A means principal is becoming liable. Then there is illustration 2, and A enters with B with the negotiable instruments endorsed in blank. B sells them to C in violation of private orders from A. The sale is good. So here sometimes the negotiable instruments are signed in blank without writing amount or words or name. Then B sells them, agent sells them to third party, and A becomes principal becomes liable, but the sale is good. Then we'll come to section 238. What it says: effect on agreement or misrepresentation or fraud by the agent. Section 238 lays down that misrepresentation made or fraud committed by agent acting in course of their business for their principals have the same effect on agreements made by such agents as if such misrepresentations or frauds had been made or committed by the principals, but misrepresentations made or frauds committed by agents in the matters which do not fall within their authority do not affect their principals. So whenever a fraud or misrepresentation is done to deceive the principal, then a principal will not be held responsible. And as you know that it is the duty and of the agent to see that principal should not be put to loss by his actions, and any misrepresentation or fraud becomes ab initio, the contract will be void. Then we have two illustrations. A being B's agents for sale of goods induces C to buy them by a misrepresentation which he was not authorized by B to make the this one sale. The contract is voidable as between B and C at the option of C. That's C who purchases. Then a captain of a B's ship signs bills of lading without having received on board the goods mentioned therein. The bills of lading are void as between B and the pretended consignor. So goods are not at all received here, and if the captain of the B's ship signs bills of lading without having received on board the goods mentioned therein, the bills of lading are void as between B and the pretended consignor. So here consignee and consignor who gives it, a consignee who receives it, and in this case also this effect on agreement of fraud by agent is explained. In this whole video I had discussed some of the case laws. Number one is in Harshad J. Shah, another versus LIC of India, Supreme Court 1997, Supreme Court 84 page number case. The Supreme Court held that LIC agents are not entitled to collect the premiums of the insured on behalf of their principal, LIC of India. And second illustration, in the state of Orissa versus United India Insurance Company Limited, Supreme Court 1997, Supreme Court page number 512. In the Supreme Court held that the contract of insurance was validly terminated as the branch manager of the insurance company exceeded his authority as an agent and undertook the liability by subsequent incorporation into the policy of underwriting principal, that is the insurance company, would not be bound by such undertaking by the operation of section 237. So these two cases are very important and hashtagged. These two cases are very important to understand the relationship of principal and agent with the third parties. There is also one case law, that is Chandra Kumar versus there is one case law that I have to discuss.